वेरी गुड मॉर्निंग एंड वेलकम बैक टू एक्सेलश्योर एकेडमी। यस, मैं हूं आपकी ट्यूटर डॉक्टर रूबी सिंह। तो जैसे कि हमने नीट बायोलॉजी प्रिपरेशन के लिए यूनिट सेल से शुरू किया हुआ है, तो उसी पे बेस्ड मैं ला रही हूँ बायोलॉजी क्विज। सो देर आर अराउंड 150 क्वेश्चंस एंड मैं चाहूंगी कि सारे बच्चे मन लगा के पढ़ें। एंड दिस इज अ स्ट्रैटेजी विच आई हैव यूज्ड टू क्लियर मोस्ट ऑफ माय एग्जाम्स। तो मैं क्या करती हूँ कि जब भी कोई प्रीवियस ईयर क्वेश्चन पेपर लेती हूँ, उसका क्वेश्चन देखती हूँ, उसमें 4 ऑप्शन होते हैं, राइट। हर एक क्वेश्चन के साथ आप 4 ऑप्शंस को भी पढ़ें, तो उससे क्या होगा, अगर आपने दिन में 10 क्वेश्चन किए हैं तो 10 क्वेश्चन के साथ आपने उसके 4 ऑप्शंस भी पढ़े हैं। सो इन एंड ऑल टोटल 40 टॉपिक्स यू हैव कवर्ड by doing all those 10 questions. The same strategy I have applied over here in order to teach you guys. So let's see, and I'm really 100% sure that this way the practicing question paper is going to help you a lot in clearing your exams in first attempt. So let's start. Let's do not delay. So here we go. So the first question, the most likely method used to determine the ultrastructure of a cell organelle is. So जैसे कि अभी हमने देखा यहाँ पे 4 ऑप्शंस दिए हुए हैं, ऑटो रेडियोग्राफी, माइक्रो डिसेक्शन, इलेक्ट्रॉन माइक्रोस्कोपी, फेस कॉन्ट्रास्ट माइक्रोस्कोपी. नाउ फॉर दोज हु ऑलरेडी नो द आंसर, थाम के रखो अपने पास. Now for those who are doing for the first time, लेट्स स्टडी व्हाट इज ऑटो रेडियोग्राफी. तो जैसे कि मैंने बताया, एक क्वेश्चन दिया है, 4 ऑप्शन है. अब हम देखेंगे कि चारों ऑप्शन क्या है, हम उनका प्रिंसिपल, हम उनका मेथड सब पढ़ेंगे. एंड एट द एंड ऑफ दिस क्वेश्चन विल नो व्हाट इज द आंसर. सो इससे क्या होगा, आपके 5 फायदे हुए. एक, आपने 4 नई चीजें पढ़ी, और 5वां, आपको इसका आंसर भी मिल गया. सो इफ यू स्टडी लाइक दिस यूजिंग दिस स्ट्रेटेजी ऑफ माइंड, I'm giving you 200% guarantee that you are going to clear your exams. So let it be NEET or any other national level exams. By this method, you're going to achieve your target. So let's talk about autoradiography. So autoradiography, इससे नाम से पता चल रहा है radio. So here we are going to use radioactive material. Okay, so if you see the figure over here, you can see that the yellow color thing is your sample. Okay. So this is a photographic film is there, a slide is there. On the top of it, you put your sample. Now sample क्या हो सकते हैं? Anything, your cell, your tissue, your organisms, anything which you would like to understand the ultrastructure of it, right? So here the question is ultrastructure of a cell organelle. So let us assume that the sample over here is a cell. Okay. Now you're going to add certain radioactive material to it. Now, what are these radioactive materials? So we know, since you people are also studying the chemistry, so you know that these are the elements which exits radioactivity. Okay. So then we have got, so we cover it with the photographic emulsion. So what we have done till now, you have got the sample, you have placed it on the slide, right? Now this radioactive sample is covered with the photographic emulsion. So you can see that over here, radioactive part is also there, which gets covered with the radioactive photographic emulsion. Now what is your photographic emulsion over here? It is your silver chloride crystals. Okay. Now why we are using silver chloride crystals, you will understand. This is the same principle is used when developing your photographs from the camera. आजकल तो सब कुछ डिजिटल हो गया है, but if suppose you want to keep as a hard copy, right? तो आप क्या करोगे, आप जाते हो शॉप पे जाते हो, वहां पे आप फोटोग्राफ्स लेते हो. So this is the same principle that is used in order to develop any photographic photo. So यहाँ पे हमारे पास photographic emulsion में है आपका silver chloride crystals. Okay. Now whenever there is a radiation, this radiation is going to activate the silver halides which are present. Okay. So what is happening, this radiation is activating the closest Ag plus ion. So what is happening, your radioactivity, it is emitting the energy and it is going to reduce your Ag plus ions into Ag atom. So what is happening, so Ag plus Cl minus, right? So this gets reduced to Ag. Now what is Ag? So silver ions are reduced to Ag metal, that is silver metal. Now once it is reduced, the activated Ag plus to Ag metal, you can see that you can see certain dark color spots over there. तो जैसे कि कैमरा में अगर आप कलर फोटो लिए है तो जो भी कलर रहेगा वो आपका डेवलप होकर आएगा, whereas in this case you will see the dark spots. तो जहां जहां आपकी रेडियो एक्टिविटी प्रेजेंट है you can see the dark spots. Now then the next slide, what you're going to do is you're going to wash away so that the insoluble Ag material or Ag metal will get washed off. So now what you get is actually a radiograph. Now this you are going to study under the microscope. So then you can study what kind of structures are present. So this is one method. Let's talk about the next method, that is microdissection. Okay. Now coming to the microdissection, this topic is about the microdissection. So you can see नाम से पता चलना चाहिए that at the microscopically level, you are going to dissect a sample or a piece from a given tissue. Now here the sample can be a cell, it can be a tissue, anything. So what you are doing exactly over here, so you have got a thermolabile polymer on bottom surface of the cap. So you can have your slide over here. On the top of this, there is a tissue sample. Okay. Now the thermolabile polymer is present and it is exposed. Now what you're doing is, अभी आप क्या कर रहे हैं यहाँ पे, with the help of the infrared laser. Okay. आपने उस area को melt किया है. Now what happens when you increase the temperature? आपने पढ़ा है plasma membrane, it becomes more permeable, right? So it detaches from the different cells. So एक tissue sample में जब आप थोड़ा सा heat देते हैं, at that particular region आपका वो portion detach हो जाता है. Okay. So the cells of interest bound in polymer cell composite. So what is happening now? To this surface, your interested region gets attached. Now this is the tissue region which you are interested. आप उसको spread करते हो using the force and then you study about it. Okay. So इससे भी आप देख सकते हैं कि यहाँ पे भी it is not talking about the ultrastructure of any cell organelle. It is overall talking about the cell. So here you can study different size and shapes of the cell, but not the ultrastructure of any cell. So hence this is not the answer. If we go previously also in the case of autoradiography, you can see that certain dark spots are there. It will again help you understanding that what kind of cell structure is present, but it will not tell you what kind of ultrastructure. Now, when you talk about ultrastructure of a cell organelle, then it is not giving much of information. So now we know that option A and option B is not the answer. This is the same about the microdissection. So you have got a spread tissue region and you are interested in this much region. Okay. So what you are doing, you are just cutting this region of interest with the help of the infrared laser, and then gets detached, and then later you study and do further analysis. Either you can do PCR, where PCR stands for polymerase chain reaction, or RT-PCR, real-time PCR, or reverse transcriptase PCR, Western blots, etc. So all these kinds of studies you can do, but it is still not telling you about the ultrastructure of any cell organelle. तो जैसे कि सेल ऑर्गेनल्स क्या रहते हैं, माइटोकॉन्ड्रिया, क्लोरोप्लास्ट, तो सेल के अंदर क्या क्या है वो हम अभी भी नहीं स्टडी कर पाए हैं. सो लेट्स मूव ऑन टू द नेक्स्ट. क्या पता थर्ड ऑप्शन हो. So the third option is electron microscopy. Now look at about the electron microscopy. So we know that in the light microscopy, the source of energy or visualization is because of the light. So light falls on the condenser, condenser से आपके वो specimen में जाता है, फिर उसके बाद वो objective lens and eyepiece में जाता है, then you visualize the structure, correct? Now in the case of electron microscopy, the source of energy over here is the electrons, right? So here it is the electron gun. The spelling is wrong over here. It is electron gun, which will give you a beam of electrons. So with the help of anode and the big magnetic lens, it is condensed and passed through the scanning coils. Okay. अब आप क्या देख रहे हैं? ये जो सारे electron beam है, they are actually amplified in such a high value with the help of the magnetic lens that they are at very high speed. So when they fall on the specimen, what happens? They get scattered. Now these backscattered electrons are actually collected with this help of the detector, and then it is converted into the final image. Now here you should understand that electrons are very small particle, right? So it is very easy for them to cross the cell, and they are helping in ejection of the electrons from the specimen. तो आप समझ रहे हैं यहाँ पे आपने एक एनर्जी दी है और जिस एनर्जी से वो पास करके स्पेसिमेन में जा रहे हैं, वहां से स्पेसिमेन को क्रॉस करके दे आर एक्चुअली गिविंग यू बैक स्कैटर्ड इलेक्ट्रॉन्स, and these back scattered electrons are actually having the information which is then finally converted into the image. So for example, let's see this figure over here. So you can see that at 1 micrometer range में आपको इतनी information मिल रही है, and here you can see that entire one cell is there and inside all the structures are seen. So I guess your answer is electron microscopy. So it is the best device to determine the ultrastructure of cell organelle. So let's talk about electron microscopy in detail later. Let's also talk about phase contrast microscopy. So what is happening in phase contrast microscopy? So you have got over here again. So phase contrast, जैसे कि आप physics में पढ़ते हैं, there's something called out of phase जाना, right? तो उसमें क्या होता है that sometimes if you have got the light beam like this, let us say that they are at 90 degree, and sometimes you have also got like this, something like this. So these both waves are in out of phase, right? So this is the principle behind the phase contrast microscopy. So we make use of application of using this out of phase phenomena. So you have got the light source. You can see over here light source is there, okay? Then you have got the annular rings. These annular rings are actually, making very clear that only one type of wavelength light is falling on the condenser and then to the specimen. Now from the specimen, since it is passing through the specimen, the lights are getting diffracted. So these diffracted lights are of different phase, okay? So they are of different phase, which was initially. So when you take the initial and the outcome one, and then you convert this source of information into the structure with the help of this objective phase ring, what you get is something like this, okay? So you can see that some areas are dark and some areas are light. So this will give you a very good clear image of a cell boundary. So this is the actually animal cell having a cell membrane boundary, and then this is the nucleus. So only this much information is given that you can actually study the cell structure, size and shape, okay? But inside what organelles are present are not clear. You cannot distinguish whether it's a mitochondria or it's a chloroplast or peroxisomes or any other organelles are present. So it's not clear. So from all this discussion of all the 4 options, that is autoradiography, microdissection, electron microscopy, phase contrast microscopy, now we understand that to determine the ultrastructure of a cell organelle, the answer is yes. The electron microscopy is the answer. So electron microscopy is the best method in order to study the ultrastructure of a cell organelle. So here it actually magnifies your objects up to 250,000 to 4 lakh times. So its resolving power is 1,000 times more than that of the light microscope. Okay. So now this resolution, the better resolution of electron microscope is because of its the wavelength of the electron beam. So as I said, since it is the smallest part of the atom, so it is because of its less the wavelength, it is able to cross the specimen and get the information about all the ultrastructure. So if you see the structure of electron microscopy, you can see that it produces when a metal filament is heated in a vacuum tube at high temperature. So from the electron gun, so what is happening over here? The metal is heated under vacuum at high temperature. So they are also made up of electromagnetic lens, and with these help of these magnetic lens, they focus on the objects with the help of the condenser. So they actually all together are focused on the subjects. That is your specimen. Okay. Now further, the magnified image is more magnified with the help of the projector lens, and it is produced on a fluorescent screen. So what happens finally, you get a beautiful structure of a from an electron microscope. So I hope this was clear. So आप देखेंगे कि even though it took so much time for us to get one answer correct, but you can also see that कि हमने साथ में 4 नए टॉपिक भी पढ़े. So now we know what is autoradiography, what is microdissection, what is electron microscopy and phase contact microscopy. So next time, if any other question comes related to these 4 topics, you are now ready to answer them, right? So let's move on to the second question. So unicellular microscopic organisms were first studied by, so these are a few questions which are direct. So here the answer is yes. The answer is Leeuwenhoek. Now how? See, we know that Robert Hooke was the first who observed the cells under the microscope. Priestley ने क्या किया था? He is responsible. He was a botanist. He is responsible for discovery of oxygen. Now you must be wondering इसमें क्या था discovery of oxygen? Oxygen was already present atmosphere में, but ये oxygen कहाँ से आया was a mystery. So he was the person who discovered that release of oxygen is from plants. That is during photosynthesis. Okay. Now यहाँ पे भी एक important question आता है. Whether during the photosynthesis the oxygen was released from the water taken by the plants or from the CO2 taken up by the plants, right? So in these two cases, which is the source of oxygen? So those who know, it's good, but the answer is water. So water is the source of oxygen evolution. So now you know why water is important for plants also and as well as for us also. Okay. Now Pasteur, he was a microbiologist who discovered and taught us about the fermentation, pasteurization. He is also responsible for finding the vaccines of many diseases, right? Then we have got the Leeuwenhoek who studied these unicellular microscopic organisms. So the answer is Leeuwenhoek is the correct answer. So like this, once you study all these options, it becomes more easy to do rest of the questions. The figures of cork cells as seen by Robert Hooke were published in the book. So here, Origin of Species, आपने सुना ही होगा. This was given by Charles Darwin, right? So जहाँ पे जब हम evolution पढ़ेंगे, there we are going to talk about Charles Darwin. So he has written the book Origin of Species. Then Species Plantarum and Genera Plantarum, they both are written by Carl Linnaeus. Okay, so he was a person who actually classified plants kingdom and into different genera. So both are actually the volume of each other. So they both are written by the Carl Linnaeus. Now Robert Hooke ने जो लिखा था, that is Micrographia. So the answer is Micrographia. So Robert Hooke has written Micrographia. So he studied all these microscopic organisms using variations in the lenses. So let me just tick for you. The answer is Micrographia. The correct answer is Micrographia. Okay. So let's move on to the next. I hope this is becoming useful for you guys. Next, match the column 1 with column 2 and select the correct option from the codes given. So we have got the column 1 where all the names of the biologists is given. Leeuwenhoek, Robert Brown, and then Steele and Shawn. So we know that Steele and Shawn has given the cell theory, but let's see how differently or individually they have given their first discovery. So we know that Leeuwenhoek has given and he saw and described the first living cell. So the first answer is A ka column 2 mein first one. Okay. So this also we know. So this is directly this one. Now if you see the options, we have got A, B and D, where A is this one, right? Now we don't know which one is the correct one. So if you know one more, then it becomes easy for you to select the option. So Robert Brown, what he did? Robert Brown, he was a person who discovered the nucleus. Okay. So if you remember this, then it becomes more easy. Now we have such options in option A and option B. So this is wrong, this is wrong. Okay. Now we need to know what Gleason and Shawn did. So Schleiden has done, and he studied all the plants that it is composed of different kinds of cells. Okay, so if you remember this, then you can know that answer is Sean has done this one. The presence of cell wall is unique to plant cells, and that's how they were able to give the cell theory. So from this, now we know that the answer is option A. So every time the logic won't work because these are the people who have discovered all these things. That's why you need to remember. So in some cases, you have to remember by heart. Now, as just now we were discussing about the cell theory. So cell theory was formulated by, yes, you have guessed it right. Who is that? It is the Schleiden and Sean. So just now we were talking about the cell theory. So what is cell theory? So it states that the bodies of all organisms are made up of cells and their products, so that the cells are the units of both structure and function of living organisms. So in the cell theory, there are 4 fundamental features of cell theory. So now we know that what is cell theory is, right? So what are those 4 fundamental theories? 4 fundamental theories. That first one is that let's write this. So we know that each living organism is made up of cells and their products. So this is the first objective of the theory. What is the second? That it is made up of small mass of protoplasm, containing nucleus. Okay, so we know that the cell is there, it has got the nucleus. So this is the cytoplasm, this is the nucleus. Together it is called protoplasm, and it has got a cell membrane which can have the cell wall or not. It's not necessary that each cell needs a cell wall. So there can be a presence or absence of cell wall. So now we know that the animal cell does not have a cell wall, whereas bacterial and plant cells have got the cell wall. Now, what is the third objective of this cell theory? That each cells are arising from the pre-existing cells. So that is, each new cell arise from pre-existing cell. Okay, so now we know that the cells divide. Then what is the last? The activities of organisms are the sum of total activities carried out by cells components. Okay, so these are the 4 fundamental features of cell theory which was proposed by Schleiden and Sean. So I hope this is clear to everyone, and with this with this type of question answering, we are going to complete the topic. So let's move on to the next. Omnis cellula e cellulae, new cells arise from pre-existing cells. This statement was given by whom? So now we said that there are these 4 fundamental features of the cell theory, but each theory objective was given by someone. In this case, the answer is Rudolf Virchow. The answer is Rudolf Virchow. He was a person who actually gave the theory Omnis cellula e cellulae. It means the new cells developed by division from the pre-existing cell. It is also called the theory of cell lineage or common ancestry. So who gave? The Rudolf Virchow. He gave the modification of this cell theory. Okay, so let me just write so that you can also remember. It is also called theory of cell lineage. Now why lineage? Because the new cells are dividing from the existing cells. Okay, or it was called as common ancestry. Wow. Even though we have done only 6 questions, but I'm sure you must have got so much of information till now. moving on to the next, dash are an exception to cell theory. So this is like we all know already know that they have to be active or alive when they are dividing. That is, they are existing. They reproduce from the existing cells, right? But there are few exceptions to this because, for example, viruses they cannot reproduce unless until they're inside some host cell. So they take the machinery of the host, they take all the nutrients and proteins, everything from the host, and then only they're able to multiply. So they become an exception to the cell theory. So viruses can only reproduce inside the host cells. Now these hosts can be animals, plants, or any bacteria. So they use their own genetic program for reproduction, but the entire raw materials, biosynthetic machinery, they take from the host cells. Outside the host cell, they are just non-living inert particles, and hence they become the exception to cell theory. So over here, the answer is virus. The answer is virus. So I hope this is clear. Now why they have become exception? Because without host they are not able to multiply. They are like dead. Now who proposed modification in cell theory? Just now we discussed, it was Rudolf Virchow who gave the modification in the cell theory by saying that the cells are reproducing from the pre-existing ones. Now questions are from the prokaryotes and the eukaryotic cells. What is true about genetic material of a prokaryotic cell? So the options are they lack histones, they are not enveloped by nuclear membrane, they compose of single nuclear DNA molecule, and it can be all of these. For this, you need to know about the prokaryotic cell. So in prokaryotes, you can see that the genetic material is consisting of a circular DNA which is lying entangled with the nucleotide, right? So you can see that over here the nucleoid is also there, and this is the genetic material over here. Now it is not bounded by definite nuclear membrane. So you can see that in the cytoplasm of the bacteria, this genetic material is present. Now histones are water soluble proteins rich in arginine and lysine that help in DNA packaging in chromosomes. So we know what are histones now. So they are actually positively charged, having arginine and lysine, which helps in DNA packaging. But in the case of prokaryotes, there is absence of histones. So now we see that, as I said, they don't have histone. So option A is correct. It is not enveloped by nuclear membrane, as you can see in the figure that it is open. It is composed of single circular DNA molecule. Yes, it is true, which is entangled with the nucleoid. You can see. So here the answer is all of these. So what is true about the genetic material of a prokaryotic cell? That it has got everything. So it doesn't have histones. It is not enveloped by nuclear membrane, and it is composed of single circular DNA. So the answer is all of these. So the answer is all of this. Okay. So this is how, if you have a figure in your mind clearly, then you can do all the options. Now coming to the next, arrange the following steps in correct sequence as per Gram's chaining technique. So before we go on to understand, it's better to know what is Gram's chaining. So Grams was a person who actually developed this technique to identify between different types of bacteria depending on their cell wall composition. Okay, so this is the protocol actually. So if you see over here, this is the protocol. So first you fix the cell onto the slide, you add crystal violet solution, you do iodine treatment. They actually form a complex which does not allow the crystal violet and iodine complex to get removed from the cell wall if it has got the thick LPS, that is lipopolysaccharide. And then you add a decolorization agent which can be acetone or alcohol. And then you do the counter staining with the help of safranin. So if it is a gram positive bacteria like Bacillus subtilis, then it is blue in color. Now if you have gram negative like E. coli, then it is pinkish color. Okay, so this is the protocol of Gram staining. So let me just clear it once again. So the bacteria are first chained with the alkaline solution of crystal violet. Then they're treated with the 0.5% of iodine solution. Then it is washed with alcohol or acetone. Now, depending on the composition, if it is a gram-positive bacteria, it will retain its color of blue, and if it is a gram-negative bacteria, it will not retain, and it will take the counter stain color, that is safranin. Now, washing of the stain in the gram-negative bacteria is due to high lipid content of the cell wall, which gets dissolved in organic solvents. Okay. So now let's see what is a question. So treatment. So what are the steps in the gram staining? We have discussed. Now let's make it into the order. The first treatment is treatment with 0.5% iodine solution, then washing with water, treatment with alcohol, and then staining with weak alkaline solution. So now we know that first is the staining. So it can be your option A or option B, right? Then we know it is the iodine treatment. So after 4, it is 1. Now focus over here. Okay, so after 1, so we know that we have stained with the crystal violet, then we have added iodine. Yes, then we wash, and then last the treatment with the alcohol and acetone. So here, this is the answer. So now we know what and how to carry out gram staining protocol. Now next, which of the given statements are correct? Bacillus subtilis is a gram-positive bacteria. E. coli is gram-negative. So this is just now we discussed in the previous question. So these two statements are correct. Washing of the gram stain in gram-negative bacteria is due to high lipid content of the cell wall, which gets dissolved in organic solvents like acetone. Yes, it is true. And hence, all these statements are correct. So your answer is option D, where all the statements are correct. Now, prokaryotes are generally dash and multiply dash than the eukaryotic cells. So we know that prokaryotes are usually small like bacteria, which range from 0.1 to 5 micrometer in size, whereas eukaryotes are they have got the cell size comparatively larger, around 5 to 100 micrometer. So your option becomes that prokaryotes are generally smaller and multiply faster than the eukaryotic cell. Now why faster? Because they can multiply very rapidly by asexual means like binary fission, sporulation, etc. So your answer is prokaryotes are generally small and multiply faster than the eukaryotic cells. So just let me write for you. So they are smaller, but they multiply faster because they use asexual means of reproduction. Example is binary fission. So you know that, for example, if you talk about E. coli, which is a gram-negative bacteria, so they take all the nutrients from the outside source. So they take all the nutrients, they become enlarged, and then they rapidly divide into 2. So from 1 you get 2, and then again you get 2. So there is an exponential growth, so which is represented by 2 raised to n, where n is the number of generation. So this is just an extra knowledge for you guys, so that you can understand if whenever questions comes based on this. Like if there are 10 generations of E. coli undergoing binary fission, how many bacterial cells you're expecting? So the answer would be 2 raised to 10. If given that there are 10 generations of multiplication happen. Now, mesosomes are the enfoldings of the cell membrane, which are present in both prokaryotes and eukaryotes, help in cell wall formation, DNA replication, and respiration. It increases the surface area of plasma membrane. Now, if you see the structure of prokaryotes over here, actually you have got the cell wall, the plasma membrane, then the chromosome, which we talked about earlier, that is the genetic material. You have got the mesosome present. Now they are present only in the prokaryotes. Okay, so you can see that over here they actually help in the cell wall formation also, DNA replication also, and of course more invagination, more enfoldings will always increase your surface area, as in the case of mitochondria. So you can see that the inner membrane of mitochondria has got cristae. that is the infoldings are there in order to increase the number of in order to increase the surface area. So here the option is 2 and 3, that they help in cell wall formation, DNA replication, respiration, and increase the surface area. What you need to remember here is that mesosomes are present only in prokaryotes. Okay, since eukaryotes are given, so we cannot take the first statement is correct. So answer is your B, that it helps in cell wall formation and increases the surface area. Whoa, इस तरह से तो लग रहा है आज ही पूरा चैप्टर खत्म हो जाएगा with so much of knowledge. Now glycocalyx. What is glycocalyx? It is a mucilage sheath which is the outermost layer in most of the bacterial cell wall. Okay. So here the question is, it may occur in the form of a loose sheath called dash, or it may be thick and tough called dash. So if you see the structure over here, in the case of thick, it becomes a capsid, or you can say a capsule also. It actually helps in, it helps the bacteria to prevent all the rough conditions, all the harsh conditions of the environment. And then we have got this slime layer also, which helps in the attachment. Sometimes they also form biofilms, so which is actually, they form a polysaccharide covering on the top of it, so they don't get washed away. So there is so many colonies of bacteria together. So now if it is a loose sheath, it is called slime layer, this one. And if it is a thick and tough, then it is the capsule. So here your answer is slime layer and capsule. So let's talk about the glycocalyx. So glycocalyx is the mucilage sheath. It is the outermost layer of the bacterial cell envelope, and it is consists of non-cellulosic polysaccharides. It may or may not have proteins. Now, if it is occurring in the loose sheath, it is called slime layer. If it is thick covering, it is called capsule. Now, it prevents, what is the function of glycocalyx? It prevents desiccation, protects from the phagocytosis, toxic chemicals, viruses, and it also helps in the attachment. Okay, so depending on the conditions of the environment, either the slime layer will be developed or the capsule or the capsid as the outer covering will be developed. So let's move on to our last question. So the correct sequence of layers of bacterial cell envelope from outward to inward is, so now as we discussed, we know that glycocalyx is present on the top. Then comes the cell wall, and then comes the cell membrane. And then since the question was outward to inward, so सबसे पहले आपका बाहर क्या रहेगा? Glycocalyx. Then रहेगा आपका cell wall, and then रहेगा आपका cell membrane. So if you see in the figure also over here, you can see that the glycocalyx is on the top, then comes the cell wall, and then comes your cell membrane, right? So this is how, with this, I complete the first session of the MCQs for the NEET practice. And this is how we are going to study the rest of the questions. So slowly all the topics will be clear, and with each questions we are going to learn more. So I hope ये strategy जो मैंने अपनाई थी वो भी आपके काम आए, and इसी तरह से हम ये सारे सवाल जवाब करेंगे. So thank you. If you like watching this, please share and subscribe with your friend circle, and any comments and suggestions are always appreciated. इसी तरह से आप देखते रहें, and please keep watching and share and subscribe with your circle. Thank you.